Show. I want to welcome you guys in, and I guess I'm breaking protocol because my series is supposed to be a few interviews with specific people, I guess. However, this morning when I woke up, I just felt like I needed to share something. And if you really know me that well, you'll understand that I'm a very social person, I'm a social being, and I love communicating. And I guess the first thought that came to my mind this morning was a specific topic which can be probably broken up into many facets. However, I'm going to try and focus or take it in small bits over maybe 3 episodes after this complete episode here. So I want to touch on the topic of autism, and I guess it carries pretty close to my heart with regards to my son. So I have a son. He is 12 years old, and his name is Noah. And Noah is the most incredible little man that I've ever met and that I could have ever dreamed of being a part of. Noah has this energy and this ability to see right through anyone. And the most fascinating part about him, he's brutally honest and can never lie. And even if he tries to manipulate the situation, he'll know that he's wrong and he will apologize either way, being a kid, But let me take you on a small journey of how I became inclined to wanting to know more about autism. So basically, when I was married, his mom fell pregnant with him, of course, with Noah, and pregnancy was pretty good until a point occurred in our lives, a point which we were not prepared for, which dawnted upon us at the most unexpected time of our lives. You must understand something. When you get married, you plan a certain lifestyle, plan achievements and goals, and things occur. And I think this is one of my main reasons about speaking about this topic of autism, because it's something that's so daunting. It's something that throws you off your so-called plans, But with all that being said, when you have a kid, fuck the plans and change it up, And basically, when Noah was born, my ex-wife, we basically rushed her, and this is my mom and myself, our guardian angel who was my mom. We rushed Monique to the hospital, and she had a checkup done, and they said there's nothing wrong with her, and they sent us back home, and we went home. And Monique became very uncomfortable because the pain was escalating in terms of contractions. So we rushed back to the hospital, and after being at home for almost 24 hours and rushing back, finally a gynecologist who was on standby, 4-hour gynecologist, by the way, was out of the country, she finally realized that she made a big mistake, and that our son was basically ready, ready to come out and venture into this new, amazing world. And at that time, we had no idea of what to expect, what was going to happen. Who does, as a new parent, who can foresee anything which will occur and which basically will catch you off guard? And so Monique was rushed to the hospital. So Monique was rushed into surgery, and a cesarean was performed. The reason why it was performed and the reason why it was an emergency is because Noah was in a dry womb. So Monique's water had broken 24 hours earlier, and that is devastating. That is basically death to any kid or the mother. And yeah, wow, it was the most alarming thing I've ever experienced. And I've experienced a lot in my life, but that, witnessing what was occurring. And so we're in this theater and doctor's cutting Noah out, perform the surgery. Noah comes out and Noah is blue. I mean dark grey blue, guys. And you know, witnessing that for the first time, or witnessing any birth for the first time, is traumatic, and I would think an experience of happiness, because I've been there for 3 births already. But thinking back to that moment when Noah was removed from Monique's belly, put on a steel cold table, and they inserted these long steel pipes down his throat just to get him to breathe, and it was mind-blowing. I thought to myself, what am I thinking? Can I even think right now? Am I blank? Am I here? Am I doing the right thing? Because all these questions come into your mind afterwards. You look back and you think about it. And at the moment, obviously, preservation holds you really securely and you don't want to think about a thing. But when you think back to what occurred and what was happening at that very, very drastic moment of time, you realize everything's out of your hands. Like everything, you have no control over it. And witnessing them doing or performing procedures they had to do to keep my son alive at that moment of time was a miracle in itself, because to bear witness to something that traumatic, it makes you appreciate life a whole lot more, and kids generally a lot more. And well, after procedures being done in the theatre, right next to Monique on that table, and I'm standing there looking down upon Noah and thinking, what's going to happen? They wrapped him up in a blanket and rushed him out. I never saw him for the next 3 hours, and then they allowed myself and his mom to see him. So Noah was rushed to a section or ward of the hospital called neonatal. Neonatal is an emergency wing of the hospital for infants or newborns. He was incubated for days, and you know, the harshest part of witnessing this element, this event, this, I don't know what you're going to call it. I call it a grand gesture of belief, of hope, and of faith, which is minimized so much when you see what's occurring right in front of you, you know. And so they tried to keep him as healthy as possible. And the only way to do that is by putting a tube up your little baby's nose, to tube feed him. They put needles in his forehead, in his arms, in his chest, in his little feet. And I'm thinking to myself, how cruel is this right now? Would I want to suffer this way? And I took a moment, I took a breath, and I looked at him. And you know, when I looked at him and I really, really gazed at him, I finally saw my son. I didn't see destruction. I didn't see cruelty. I didn't see a situation that is uncontrollable out of my hands. I saw my son for the first time. And it was eye-opening to me, being a father for the first time, And I'm just thankful to everyone who played a part at that very moment. I'm thankful to the nurses that were so patient, and so understanding, and they explained so much to us. But make no mistake, we were still not aware of what was about to come, and how tough the journey would be from that point on. And so Noah healed the way they explained he should heal. His blood levels were fine, his oxygen intake was fine, but he was still swollen as a kid because of all the trauma his body experienced. And then, I think a day or two later, Noah contracted bacterial meningitis, which is a killer for kids, infants, and it basically, they said it would affect his brain, but they're going to do tests, and well, the test came back negative. He got through that. My little king got through it, my king. And a week or two later, they released him. We took him home, and he slept on my chest. Every night he slept on my chest. But there was something offbeat about Noah. There was something really, really disturbing in terms of his sleep patterns, in terms of him crying, in pain the whole time. And we just assumed, it's normal for kids to cry, it's normal for them to be crabby because that's what newborns do. And eventually my mom, our angel, she came to us and said, you waste no time about this, let's go straight to the hospital. And we jumped in the car, we went to the hospital, we sat and waited, and eventually some doctors saw us, did tests on Noah, said there's nothing wrong with him, sent us back home. And Noah got worse at home. My mom said, to hell with this, someone's going to see you tonight. And we rushed back, and they said there's nothing wrong with our son. And my mom said, to hell with you, I want to see a specialist, and I want to see a specialist now because there's something wrong with my grandson. And eventually a pediatrician came in and saw our son and said, have blood tests done. And they did the blood test. And this is hard to talk about. But if not for my mom, I don't think my son would be on earth today. If not for my mom, I don't think myself and my ex-wife Monique would be the parents we are today. If not for my mom, I don't think I would ever be the man I am today. So thanks to my mom. I love you with all my heart. I can't wait to see you again someday. And so the doctor did the blood test, the test came back, and they found protein in his kidneys, and that's why my son was so swollen. That's why Noah was in such excruciating pain. And they obviously admitted him again, back to the drawing board, and it was hard, guys. It was the most difficult things as new parents, as a new dad and mom. And I think the most difficult part was seeing your son and you're helpless and you can't do a thing. But eventually, my little king, he pulled through. We took him home. He had his 1-year-old birthday. The biggest birthday, by the way, in my family culture is big. And Noah was such a busybody, highly intelligent, extremely intelligent. His hearing was like no other hearing. His sight was Superman sight, that's the best term I can use. His superpowers is his hearing, his sight, his sense of smell, his touch, his emotion of feeling others, feeling energy around him. That's how in tune his senses are. And at that time, we still didn't recognize the signs of what was going on with Noah. Now, some people say that it's not normal for a kid to experience so much emotion, for a kid to be able to have such good eyesight that a little light hurts his eyes. Some people say that a scent around you cannot drive you mad. But imagine You can hone your senses so strong that you can be aware of everything around you, that your surroundings become a part of you and can overstimulate you. Like I said, it's building up to something incredible. It's building him up into a superhuman, and that's what I call him. I call him my superhero. He has superpowers beyond any other kid in my eyes, because he's my kid. And that's why I love my king so much. And so time passed. So Noah turned 2, and we picked up different tendencies of which he would apply himself to. So like, for example, he would only play with certain items, and when he played with items it had to be a certain structure or certain color. He would only eat at a certain time, but still normal kid routine, it's still normal kid behavior, you know. So you don't really pick up or grasp the variations of what's different, of what's wrong, of what's right. And I still don't believe there is anything wrong or right with a kid, no matter how they behave. A kid is a kid. And from that point, Noah turned 3, and Noah went to school, started going to school. And Noah would be the busiest person in the world. No teacher could handle him, no school could deal, like no school. Noah was literally in over 3 schools, preschools. Eventually we found a special school for that handles busy kids. And they proclaimed to be the best there is, and they had all the experience in the world. And eventually they couldn't deal, so Noah was out there again. And then we took him to another school, and he kind of survived there. It was a lot better in terms of being equipped, in terms of the teachers having some fundamentals of autism. And eventually he turned 5, and that's when we picked up the severity of my ignorance. As a father, we are influenced positively. And positively doesn't mean that it's positive. Positively means that it's some other person's interpretation of what a problem is, and another person's interpretation of how to resolve that problem. And so we buy into this here, and we fall into this trap of thinking that we know everything. And Noah went to a specialist. He was assessed, and from that point on, life changed drastically. But in saying that, the drastic change gave us strength. It brought my whole family closer, and it made us become the best parents ever. I exceeded my own expectations, to be honest. I didn't expect myself to be the father I am today. I'm not the greatest, I'm not the best, I'm not perfect, I'm totally imperfect. And I always make mistakes. But the mere fact that I love my son, that's good enough for me. And the mere fact that I miss him, that's the best part of me. The tests for autism, the doctors ruled him as being autistic, being on the spectrum, and it was the hardest news to hear, actually, because we knew nothing about autism, you know. We had a vague idea, like most people do, but you don't know much. And so the first thing that's stipulated is medication. And I was against it. Like, I said never. I'm not ever going to put my son on medication. I'm not going to make him a victim. I'm not going to make him a zombie in class. I'm not going to let his little kidneys get hurt. I'm not going to let him have brain dysfunction at a later stage. I'm not. And that's all that went through my mind. I was so adamant that my son will not ever touch medication. And that was because I was influenced. That was because I was pushed to a point where I felt arrogant enough to know more than the specialists themselves. But eventually, we learn a lot more than we admit we do. And eventually you have to humble yourself, because who comes first? Your emotion, your own thoughts? Or do you put the one that is going through the hardest point of their lives, the ones who need to be shaped, the ones who need to be molded? How do you find a balance for those ones? And those ones are our kids. And with that, guys, I'll catch you in the next episode to tell you more about the journey of autism as a parent, as a kid, as grandparents, as sisters, as brothers, as family, as friends. I'll share the journey with you about what we all had to go through to get my little king to be the best man he is today. Much love, and thank you for your time.